Hi, welcome to Barmy Army fan cams after a really, really disappointing end to the season. It's been a difficult week and that's just capped it off. A 3-2 loss at home to Leicester, which means we're out of this season's FA Cup that gets finished next season. We'll catch up at some stage. Fiona, Matt, Shane, join me. Matt, where do we start with that today?
That's an excellent question. I don't think I could have imagined a more ill-fitting farewell for Casey. I mean, that performance was pathetic. It really was. We've all said for a while that there are a number of players that quite simply aren't good enough, and that was laid bare today. You know, there are a number of players that were out on that pitch today that should have played their last game with United shirt. Yes, we made a few changes because, you know, we were managing players that, you know, are going to be going to the Olympics or whatever. But with all due respect to Leicester, the team that we put out today should have had more than enough to beat a team that have only just been promoted from the Championship. That, I'm going to use the word again, that was pathetic.
It's a strong word, but actually it feels quite appropriate. Fiona, at times today, it felt very much like it was two teams that weren't that fussed. Were you disappointed with the lack of, never mind the play wasn't great at times, but actually the lack of emotion from the team?
Yeah, particularly, this is Casey's send-off. You know, for some of these players, Casey has given them an opportunity to play football again, play football regularly, fall back in love with football, some of them have said. And that's how you try and give her a send-off. We've had the same issues all season, or not every game, but in quite a few games, you know, poor passing or whatever. And so didn't expect too many things to change today, but this is a knockout game. You know, you want to win, you want to progress to the next round of the cup. You always want to do that. This is, you know, it had to be decided today, and I don't think we saw a lot of desire. Maybe in the last few minutes, you know, trying to get a corner done quickly and those kind of things, but there wasn't like a proper fight. There wasn't any kind of fight to win the game, you know, to win every tackle, to win every header, that kind of thing, which is what we want to see as fans. So yeah, disappointing.
So Shane, pathetic, lack of passion, lack of urgency, or are we just looking at a team at the end of a very long season who've had a really tough last few days and actually just couldn't get going today? Is it that simple?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you know, mentally they're probably drained and tired, and it's been another odd season. You playing a round FA Cup game as your last game of the season, and that's then going to carry on into next. And some players that would have played in that today, had we got through, that wouldn't actually be played in the quarter-final. But even so, you know, we've known about the game for weeks, so, and it is just another game, so you should be able to get up for it. And, you know, you add into that, as Matt Fiona said, Casey's last game, you should be up and raring for it, and at times it just didn't look like that. It either looked like a sort of first game of the season, or it looked like the last game of the season, where there was almost, well, does it really matter? It does matter, but
yeah,
that's kind of what it looked like at times.
And I think somebody in the watch along actually said, somebody watching from the States said it felt like spring training, which is the beginning of the baseball season. And for us, I suppose it felt like a pre-season game. There was just, I almost had a sense at one point, I think I said, if fans were in, we would have had to do something to get that game going, because it just looked like neither team was that fussed in a way. There was nothing at stake that could be resolved this season. It goes into next season. And as we were trying to explain, you've still got next year's FA Cup run anyway. So as nice as it would have been, we're still in the cup next season. Matt, obviously at this point of a season, we would be looking ahead in terms of outgoings, recruitment. With the news this week, that's completely changed all of that. And there's massive question marks in terms of manager. Are we waiting for a new manager in terms of recruitment? Are we still going to be releasing players as of tomorrow morning once contracts are up? And then how long does that recruitment take? What are your thoughts about this summer that's coming up?
Yeah, obviously the news that we've had this week changes everything, because we all know that Casey plans ahead in terms of recruitment. You know, she would have been looking ahead to who she was going to bring in this summer, you know, in December, January. That's just how she operates. But with the news that now she's not going to be there, that changes everything, because the new manager, whoever that turns out to be, will no doubt have their own ideas. And there may be some players that Casey would have earmarked to come in had she remained at the club that a new manager may not want to sign because they're not the type of player they want, or for whatever reason. And similarly, if you reverse it, there may well also be some players that will have been considering joining us because of Casey, because, you know, pretty much every player that we've brought in the last 3 years has said that Casey has been a big factor in their decision. So, you know, there may be some players that would have come under Casey that may all be thinking again. I think for me, the biggest thing is to make sure that we get this managerial appointment right, but also that we do it quickly. You know, I'd certainly do it before the Olympics, and then they can get to work. Right, this is who I want to bring in. In terms of outgoings, yeah, I'm sure that would have probably already been decided. You know, players whose contracts are up and are now going to be released, I'm sure those discussions will have already been had. Those decisions will. I don't think much, if anything, will change in that respect. But I think in terms of incomings and outgoings, it's probably changed completely for me.
And going back to the point about the Olympics, Fiona, do the Olympics, the timing of them, and somebody made the point on the watch along that most deals won't be done until after the Olympics, most signings anyway. Does that help us now? In as much as it almost gives the club a little bit longer to get everything sorted, rather than managers in, quick, get these signings done, and then let's build towards pre-season? Or actually, does this mean that they've got a bit of time to, right, let's get the right appointment, let's get the right person in, let's sort out anything that was existing that needs resolving, and then let's get everything sorted?
Yeah, I think most players who don't play for a national team going to the Olympics, their deals will be sorted beforehand, because the Olympics are around like 21st, 22nd of July until like the 8th or 9th of August, which doesn't give you very long. By the time the Olympics ends, our pre-season will have started, and so we'll want to have our players in that aren't busy with the Olympics. I imagine if we were going for somebody like Ono, they'd obviously be like, I'm focusing on the Olympics. But we also know Casey would have had this stuff sorted ages ago. These players probably have pre-contract agreements. So I don't know. I think it gives players a bit of time off to think about other stuff, but I also think it's quite late on, and will that then impact what we do now over the summer and how we get going next season? Obviously, I hope we get going to a bright start, because we don't have too many players going to the Olympics. Hopefully they get a bit of time to rest and recuperate, but I don't know. There's so many things going on. I think having no manager, that's probably going to have the biggest impact on what we do and when we can do it. I don't expect any like announcements in the next few weeks about who's joining the club anyway. That's for sure.
The tradition is always outs first, and then we sort the end. Shane, I guess other than asking everybody for their player of the match, I'm leaving the final word on the match to you. and the season. And I guess I'm just going to ask you what you're going to take from this season. As we've all been armchair fans this year, what's the thing that really is going to sit with you the most?
Difficult to say, really. If you'd have asked me this at sort of Christmas time, my answer would probably be very, very different. The sense that, you know, we started a bit like a house on fire, and, you know, we looked, thank God, we're competing here. We got the draw against Chelsea, we beat Arsenal, we got a draw against City coming from behind. But then, you know, a lot of that, we were calling ourselves second half FC, and, you know, poor first half when we'd up it in the second. And now, you know, that didn't carry over into the second half of the season. We were then just sort of first half FC for the rest of it, for the majority. So definite up and down season, I think. You know, we peaked around the turn of the year and dipped off again then. So it probably showed us or re-emphasised the level we're actually at. You know, we some of us quietly wanted top three, but would have been satisfied with the fourth place as long as we'd close that gap, which we have done. I'll happily admit I was one of those people, but I think it's the manner in which we finished in that position is probably the sour note, given we were top for a period and we just seemed to drop off massively. So yeah, it's definitely sort of like a regroup and re-go, and you'll get that with a new manager, maybe possibly a new coaching team as well. They might bring their own people in.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting summer. Okay, so last question, as always, player of the match. Matt, one name.
This is something I never thought I'd say, and I think probably reflects how weird the last few days have been. But I'm going to give it to Jane Ross.
Of course you are. She was a star today. Fiona?
I'll give an honourable mention to Kirsty Anderson, but I'm going Jane Ross as well, when she was on the pitch.
Does this qualify, if Shane says Jane Ross, does this qualify as a hat-trick? Jane, player of the match.
Of course it's Jane Ross.
It's proof. Ian, get your money out. What a way to end the season. Fiona, Matt, Shane, thank you all very much for joining me. And thank you to everybody who's watched and who's taken part throughout the season. It feels like it's been an absolute marathon, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of glad for a week or two off. The socials will be carrying on. The podcasts will be carrying on in some vein. We don't know what next season's going to hold. We know there's going to be a lot of news between now and next season, but for everybody who's stuck with us, who's been part of anything we've done this year on the socials, thank you all so much. And I say that on my behalf, also on Mark's behalf. We got through it. We got through this season, and hopefully next season's brighter times, good memories we're going to make, and actually get to see people properly. But yeah, thank you all the same, and take care, look after yourselves, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.